The ultimate news portal for the Philadelphia Phillies is on the air, bringing you everything about Philly's most traditional franchise.
Stay tuned for behind-the-scenes trade rumors and analysis of the big plays because our bulletin starts right now.
48 hours ago, this trade was dead. Not delayed, not stalled, dead. Philadelphia was about to walk away from the biggest name on the trade deadline board, and nobody outside that war room knew how close it came to total collapse. But then, in the final hours before the deadline horn sounded, something shifted. The deal that almost never happened became the deal that might define Dave Dombrowski's entire tenure in Philadelphia. We're talking about Luis Arraez. And the story of how he ended up wearing red pinstripes is far more insane than anyone reported in real time. Let's rewind. Late Sunday night. Sources confirmed the framework was simple. 1-for-1. Arraez heads to Philadelphia. Prospect Ramon Marquez heads to San Francisco. Clean, quick, surgical, except it collapsed. Bob Nightingale broke the news that the 1-for-1 swap fell apart late Sunday night. Just like that. Gone. Picture that moment inside the front office. The player everyone wanted, the reigning batting champion, the guy who could fix Philadelphia's lineup instability, suddenly off the table. This is panic mode. This is the kind of moment where careers get defined in real time. Do you scramble? Do you overpay to save face? Or do you let it die and move on to plan B? Dombrowski didn't blink. San Francisco, according to multiple reports, came back to the table. Why? Because leverage in trade deadline negotiations is never one-directional. The Giants needed bullpen help just as badly as Philadelphia needed a bat that could flat-out hit. So the two sides went back to whiteboard. This time, the trade got bigger, more complex, more layered. Philadelphia added right-handed reliever Matt Gaynor into the outgoing package. San Francisco, in return, agreed to toss in right-handed reliever Caleb Killian. Suddenly, this wasn't a simple hitter-for-prospect swap anymore. This was a full-scale mutual reshaping of both rosters, built in the final hours of desperation and opportunity, colliding at the same negotiating table. And here's the twist nobody expected. The failed negotiation actually saved Philadelphia. Think about that for a second. If the original 1-for-1 trade had gone through cleanly Sunday night, Philadelphia fans would have gotten Arraez. Just Arraez. A rental. A short-term platoon fixer. A single bat added at the cost of a legitimate prospect, with zero additional value coming back the other way. That's a move that gets you engagement online, but it doesn't get you praise from the analysts. That's the kind of move that makes headlines for 24 hours before scrutiny sets in. But because the deal blew up, Dombrowski was forced back into the room. He had to negotiate harder. He had to extract more value. And by the time the dust settled, Philadelphia didn't just get their bat. They got a bullpen arm, too. Caleb Killian, a right-hander with legitimate upside, walked through the door in the same trade that brought in Arraez, at a cost that barely moved the needle in terms of what Philadelphia gave up. This is chess, not checkers. Sporting News called the scenario a blessing in disguise for Philadelphia. Let that phrase sit with you for a second. A trade that nearly fell apart in humiliating fashion turned into a 2-for-1 value grab because the front office refused to panic when the first version collapsed. This is what separates elite front offices from mediocre ones. Anyone can make a move when things go smoothly. The real test is what you do when the deal dies on the table and you're staring down a ticking clock with the deadline horn blaring in the background. Dombrowski held his ground, and Philadelphia walked away with more than they ever expected when this entire pursuit began. Now let's talk about why Arraez matters so much in the first place. This isn't a speculative reclamation project. This is a proven, elite contact hitter walking straight into a lineup that has, at times, looked one-dimensional and painfully strikeout-prone in critical moments. Arraez doesn't chase. Arraez doesn't strike out. Arraez controls the strike zone like a surgeon controls a scalpel. In a Philadelphia lineup filled with power bats who occasionally go ice cold for stretches at a time, Arraez becomes a connective tissue. He's the guy who keeps innings alive. He's the guy who puts the ball in play when the situation demands contact over chaos. And reports out of Philadelphia's clubhouse in the days since the trade indicate he's already made an impact, quickly, immediately, before fans even fully process the chaos of how this trade actually came together. Arraez was already showing exactly why Philadelphia fought so hard to get him. Now here's where things get more complicated. Sporting News raised a pointed question in their assessment, and it's a fair one. Even with Arraez locked in, even with Killian added as a bullpen depth piece, did Dombrowski do enough at the deadline? The bullpen still has questions. The rotation depth beyond the top arms remains a conversation Philadelphia fans have been having all season. The outfield picture is far from settled. This front office made a marquee move, but marquee moves alone don't win championships in October. They win headlines in August. So now the pressure shifts. Every start from the rotation gets magnified. Every blown save gets scrutinized against the backdrop of, could that bullpen arm have been better if Dombrowski pushed harder at the deadline? This is a tension every front office lives with after making one big splash. You get praise for the star acquisition, but you get questioned for what you didn't do around it. And Philadelphia fans, if we're being honest with each other right now, are some of the most demanding, detail-obsessed fans in this entire sport. You don't get a pass for one good trade. You get held accountable for the entire body of work. So let's talk about the T that's about to explode across Phillies nation. Was trading a legitimate prospect worth it for a bat that's essentially a short-term rental? Arraez isn't guaranteed to be in Philadelphia beyond this season. You gave up long-term future value for immediate offensive stability. Some fans are going to call that genius. A calculated, aggressive, win-now move from a front office that knows the championship window is right now, not 5 years from now. Other fans are going to call that reckless. A short-sighted sacrifice of future assets for a 2-month rental in a lineup that maybe, just maybe, didn't need saving in the first place. So here's the real question, and I want you to actually sit with this before you scroll down to the comments. If Philadelphia doesn't win it all this year, was mortgaging even a small piece of the future for Arraez worth it? Or does this front office owe fans more transparency about whether this was a championship push or a desperate patch job? Because here's the brutal truth about deadline trades like this one. History doesn't remember the process. History remembers the results. If Arraez becomes a difference maker in a deep October run, nobody talks about Ramon Marquez ever again. Nobody cares that the trade almost died Sunday night. Nobody cares about the chaos, the panic, the scramble back to the negotiating table. All anyone will remember is a batting champion turning double plays into rally-extending base hits in a Philadelphia uniform during the most important month of the baseball calendar. But if this doesn't work, if the lineup stalls in October the same way it stalled in years past, if the bullpen cracks under playoff pressure because Dombrowski didn't add enough arms alongside Killian, then every single word of praise being written about this trade right now gets rewritten with regret. That's the brutal, unforgiving nature of building a contender in this league. You're never just one move away. You're always one move, plus the next move, plus the move after that. Dombrowski knows this. He's built championship rosters before. He understands the difference between a splash move and a complete roster. The question now is whether the moves he didn't make at this deadline come back to haunt this franchise in October. Because right now, in the immediate aftermath, this trade looks brilliant. A near collapse turned into a value heist. A one-for-one salvage job turned into a 2-player acquisition at minimal long-term cost. That's front office execution at its finest. But championships aren't won in August war rooms. They're won in October under lights, with everything on the line. So here's what I want from you right now. Drop your honest take in the comments below. Was this Arraez trade the aggressive, franchise-altering move Philadelphia needed? Or is this front office still one bullpen arm, one rotation piece, one outfield bat away from actually being complete? Phillies Nation, this is your team. This is your window. This is your October coming up fast. If you want to be locked in for every single trade rumor, every roster shakeup, and every twist heading into the postseason, hit subscribe right now. Because the story of this Philadelphia team is just getting started, and you do not want to miss what happens next.